President Abdel al-Sisi arrived Tuesday in Jordan to take part in the second edition of the Baghdad Conference on Cooperation and Partnership. The President's participation is the framework of Egypt's backing to Iraq to reinstate its effective and balanced role on the regional level. Over the phone, we have Dr. Mohamed Azim. He's a professor of political science. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
So first of all, I'd like to shed the light on the significance of the Egyptian participation in this conference.
First of all, we have to understand the role of Egypt according to, recently crisis and the ongoing issues really happen, not in all regions, like all over the worldwide, and mostly of participation, which comes really with a higher level of participants by Mr. President Abdel al-Sisi, as well as we really figure out friendly relationship with mostly of the region country to build on mostly of foreign situation and be on the spot for the role of Egypt actually and region to control most of the crisis all over the world. And recently participation of Mr. Abdel al-Sisi in this summit really representing that issue. According to the double relation of between really Egypt and Iraq, and how the rule of Iraq really impact of mostly of the power balance of mostly of the region and mostly of crisis really happen right now.
Talking about some of the important files that were discussed in this conference, if we're talking about Iraq and Egypt.
This participation coming to representing how important to support Iraq to return to active balance and rule and region level, and its keenness to ensure that security and stability for Iraq is a base for constructive dialogue with aims of resolving problems in region, as well as we creating appropriate condition for establishing this partnership and cooperation, as well as we do know as economic integration between Iraq and neighborhood friendly countries. So this kind of this dialogue witnesses a number of personal meetings, as you can figure out between Mr. President Abdel al-Sisi and then participate with Jordan King Abdullah and as we know just the French partnership meetings too. So it's including the brotherhood relation and this kind of consenting ways to the strength bilateral relation, as well as at level with the framework of close and virtual ties until Egypt and Jordan try to play a great role to focus on this, the role of both of Iraq and other crises all over the region. And according to this is a speech which coming by Mr. Abdel al-Sisi, he tried to actually emphasize about the mainly points to the world worldwide, because the key key answer for most of the crises in region, actually the most of the crisis world is coming by making a cooperation and figure a way for mostly of even and issues. And that is really messages directly. We can really conclude it from meetings with Mr. President Macron, the French president, which is really this country which plays a role of negotiation between Ukraine and Russia in war right now. And all the world notify from the speech of Mr. Abdel al-Sisi in last COP27 conference in Sharm el-Sheikh. He make international invitation for the whole world community to start the really detect and reality steps toward stop this war, which really have a great impact on all the world countries. So this kind of dialogues coming during this summit to representing the role of Egypt and really the steply agenda from the foreign policy of Egypt how to making this, steps toward the region and worldwide crisis.
Sir, to what extent can the cross-border challenges in the fields of health, food security, energy, supply chains, and more challenges facing the whole world? So how can all these be addressed in a way that achieves the interests of our people?
As well as just mention about what really we may conclude from this crisis. We cannot really, as any country of the world, working by ourselves. We have to make a comparative for the country, like to figure a supply chain, even the food crisis, energy crisis, and mostly of all the country crisis, even just economic one, with the higher ratio of inflation for all world countries, representing we have to work together for the facing this challenging and important of achievement for the Iraqi state, even as the mainly focus point for this summit for cooperative and security to restoration the rule of state institution and implementation to facing any kind of fanatics or groups or even a violence project over there by ISIS or even any fanatics groups, and to achieve the security and stability and sovereignty for the Iraq and how representing this to make like a pay efforts more to Iraq state and to make work on a project to development achievement optimally utilization for the country capability and resources for Iraq and all the region country. I think, from my point of view, the Mr. Abdel Fattah's speech and mostly of the feedback after this summit, representing that the achievements going to, I think, making a more meetings and others dialogues for mostly other crises in the region, and the role of the Egypt on that crisis to managing the kind and of stability in the region, and to stop any intervention from other projects in the region, as well as we know from the neighborhood for Iraq, like Turkey or even Iran, which is going to make an stability or for benefit for them.
Sir, through decades, oil has been one of Iraq's important potentials. So how do you see the role of Iraq or the oil in Iraq in solving the problem of the world demanding for oil now?
As well as we can really understand, the problem for oil is it's a great need for mostly of just superpower countries, according to once we understand the role of energy as a tool of war for Russian-Ukrainian war, and it's a kind of make a pressure for European countries. So one of the great demands right now from United States and Western countries how to figure out another tracks for the energy crisis. So one of motivation for, and I think that one of agenda supply is for the French participation in this summit, how to make more stability for Iraq. It's a way for to ensure there's a kind of resources to make establishment of stability for energy supplies for Europe. So one of the issues right now, how to make like an efforts to lead the region, like not for Egypt only, for all the country of the Gulf countries, and with a high ratio of oil, to play a role to make like I think compromising with the European countries and the United States about their needs for oil and we needs for stability and peace in according to the different kind of crisis. That is what is, I think, mostly important issues on the top of discussion from Egypt, okay, toward all the region country in recent months, where mostly of summit really happened, and we can really figure out that from Mr. Biden visiting to Jeddah and up since 5 months, and recently Xi Jinping and the Chinese president for Riyadh. So this kind of summit representing the focus on the mostly focus on from the superpower and industrial country, the world on the region, and the great needs to make a supplies, another supplies for the energy, and especially from oil in the region.
Can we shed the light on some of the important fields which allow people to benefit from each other's capabilities?
Do you mean like each other in an oil crisis, or sorry, energy crisis, or what do you mean?
Yes. And other fields as well, of course.
Yeah. Okay. It's just it's a kind of mutual, supporting each other for this point. Actually, and most of the Western countries they don't really just rely on the oil from the region, but they, I think, kind of figure out another resources, and to resolve the problem of energy, especially once they figure out, they can really make a way for like the green hydrogen, or I think just one of mostly and commonly project to make a cooperation between Germany and Angola, one of the south of Africa, country now. In addition, for that, another, I think, just resources for energy all over the world. But according to the Jordan summit recently, there is a higher appreciation to making efforts which really let Iraq more stability, and important to make achievements for Iraq state, for this institutionally state, and eliminate any dark of tourism and project, and achieve stability, which is representing to stop this crisis over there, and let the kind of supply chains and interests for the supplying the energy of supplies for the Europe countries could fulfill by Iraq oil already, and other region already reach of oil. Sure.
Sir, now it is clear enough that we are living in a global village, and any challenges or anything that is taking place in any of the neighboring countries or Arab country will affect all other countries in the region, and this is very much clear. So let's talk more about the importance of the collaboration among the Arab countries, especially that we are talking about a new era. We are talking about, for example, green economy to be adopted in the region, many important funds that we are talking about.
We have to understand, as according as you you mentioned, for the cooperative, and as we are in a globalization level of living in this world for most of all the country of the world. So this Arab world, I think recently understand the rule of cooperation, and mostly of talks, and just meetings really happen, representing the rule of figure out, a common and interests and agenda for all countries against any intervention. And right now we can understand how all our countries, and I think actually most of our countries, figure that we have to understand the strongest and the strength really rule we can play together with negotiate with United States and even China and other countries at the one side, not just as a divided as well we used to work together before. So that is, I think, one of the challenges, not for Egypt only. It's a challenge for our countries we need to complete each other, and where with integration aspect toward most of the crisis. And that is ties which representing was the friendly, intention for that working together. And the representation in Egypt in most of these meetings and talks, representing the real rule of Egypt on those kind of dialogues really happened.
Right, Dr. Mohamed Abdel Azim, Professor of Political Science, thank you very much for joining us. Right, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back.
The mosque of Abada ibn al-Samit was built in the heart of the town of El Sheikh Abada, overlooking its main street. The two minarets stand next to each other, testifying